We're talking with the one and only Dave Hyde. What's your take on the Mike McDaniel hire and some of the hires he's made?
I hope you don't have to be the dictator coach. He is the opposite of Brian Flores, just as Flores was the opposite of Adam Gase. It's the game the Dolphins have played for the last 20 years, pretty much. Can he make it? We'll sit here and I'm done prejudging coaches, right?
Yeah, impossible.
Right? I mean, how many times have we done this? Oh, look at the hires he's made. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
It does seem like it's dissipating a little bit, and some of the restrictions and the parameters, the guidelines that people are operating under. I don't know how it is in other states, but Florida was, let them bleed Ron DeSantis.
I don't know.
He is to governing what Steve Smoger was to refereeing boxing matches. Old double S out of New Jersey there, Smoger. You guys would know him if you saw him, Smoger. And he was a fabled New Jersey referee mostly, but became internationally known. He would just let two guys, they could have their skulls crushed in, but with a sledgehammer in the third round, bleeding like a sieve. And he go, okay, guys, let's go. I'll let you know when we're going to stop it. But let's keep fighting. It was old Ronnie Dean, the governor here in Florida.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Tuesday here in South Florida. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on On Channel. I'm Jeff Deforrest, along with one Mike Lubitz. It is the Defo Show, and wow, I mean, this date we'll never see again, right? Are you writing any checks today, Mike Lubitz, or filling out any paperwork? Are you closing on a new home, anything like that? Which would require a lot of documentation. 2/22/22 is where we're at. 2/22/22, and I don't think that comes around again for like another 100 years, where you'll have a date like that, where you have all the numbers the same straight across. What would that be then? You wouldn't have a 333.
Nope. There's not
right? So 2/22/22. That's what it is today, and that should be an easy one to pop onto. I don't intend to write any checks today, Lubie. At least I hope not. Although it is a rather expensive tab, we're going to have to increase the advertising revenue on this program if I'm going to make it to Italy with the Mustang. I'm not used to paying big money for a vacation. I'm used to getting everything comped, except for the gambling degeneracy, which is a really nice condition of the current situation when it comes to the desperation that casinos have to have you come there and spend your money. Actually, put your money up in smoke. Because if you're spending your money, you may be getting a slight rip-off price, right? When you go to Las Vegas, obviously the food is kind of expensive there. But food is expensive everywhere, as we said. My son went to Chili's the other night. Family of four, 200. Got whacked, 200. Chips and salsa, a couple of margaritas. The kids had something off the child's menu. And he gets a check for 2 sticks. Incredible. That's where it's at these days. Grocery stores, the prices. I went in to buy one of those rotisserie chickens that we use to supplement the dog food that we feed our 2 dogs, Skippy and Holly. All right. So we'd finished up an evening with some friends. And we're on our way home. We stopped by the local supermarket in South Florida. That's Publix for us. We blow by one. Well, we get like 7 items maybe. Of course, 4 of them were expensive bottles of wine, so maybe I should have taken that into consideration, which the Mustang had hidden in the back of the shopping cart when we got to the cash register. But, a couple of items, $157. It's amazing. $157. Got whacked. We were going to pick up a chicken for $9.
Oh, my God.
A stick and a half later, we were out at the store. Just stick it right in your eye there.
Exactly.
I saw something actually was kind of interesting, where they were talking about how today's 50. Oh, no. Yesterday's 50 is today's 40 or whatever it is. Which way would that go? Today's 50 is yesteryear's 40.
Yes.
Right? Because you're feeling like 40 years old when you're 50 years old, which I don't know if that's true.
I feel young now. The older you get, you're younger. Now.
So they're saying that today's $100 bill is yesterday's 20.
Yeah.
It really is. Remember when a stick was like a big thing?
Yep.
My grandson, Liam, he loves sticks. That's all he wants. Hey, Grandpa, you got a stick? It's like, what do you mean, Grandpa, you got a stick? What are you talking about? What do I look like? Adrian Peterson? No, of course not. I don't have a stick.
Exactly.
But he was talking about a $100 bill, which was great because now he's using degenerate terminology as if, it just automatically by osmosis, somehow came into his way of thinking, courtesy of me. Because I don't know. Jess Man refers to $100 bills as a stick, but only because he's heard that as common vernacular when it
Entire
comes to that
life.
sort of thing. All right, good to be with you. We had to juxtapose a couple of things. John Kachemi going to join us, about 7:30 this morning?
John, and I meant to tell you that, John Kachemi is going to join us Friday. He has a business
Friday,
with
okay.
his kids and stuff, so he's going to join us Friday morning, right as a precursor to the professor and his latest big board.
Okay, yeah, very nice. I don't know how the professor's going to top what he's done the last couple of weeks.
I talked to him yesterday. He was like, "Are we still doing this?" I'm like, "I think we are." I'm like, "You sort of screwed yourself because we now expect greatness from you each and every week." So,
Well, he used to do that. What did he call that shtick that he did? The top 10. What was that? Power rankings.
Power rankings. Yeah, and it was a mockery of power rankings, and he would talk about some of the funniest things over the course of the week. He would do the top 10.
It was a great segment he used to do with us on the radio. The professor, of course, the great Ken Jacobson. And he has killed it, though, the last 2 weeks here on the show. And with full-blown production values, I think the people at Ion Channel are actually looking at, having some kind of an offshoot show to this one, just featuring the professor with that stuff.
Nice.
Which would be great. I mean, very entertaining. He had the whole thing about the, what was it, Super Bowl props that he was betting. And then, the Super Bowl of soccer was great.
Anthem.
Oh, and the anthem. Going over under the anthem. It is amazing, too. I mean, as we've been talking about, and we hope to be absorbed in this very same system where either DraftKings or FanDuel takes a look at what we're doing and says, I got to buy that show. And I don't mind just making that a blatant open pitch. I mean, that probably is the goal of every broadcaster right now, is to wear a DraftKings logo.
Should be.
And be paid handsomely by one of these gambling organizations to produce content, which, some of it's very questionable. I was just telling Lubie, I was reading a thing yesterday in the New York Post, which Vegas Sports Information Network, I believe, also now is consumed by DraftKings and is owned by DraftKings. That was Brent Musburger's thing. Now, I don't know if they just changed the name of it and it's the same organization, because they're now publishing gambling analysis in my New York Post. They have a whole page. Well, they have several pages dedicated to it, which is why I love subscribing to that particular publication. I mean, to me, what would it be? It would be the Racing Form, the New York Post, and then what? Maybe, do you throw the Bible in there? I wasn't really a big Bible reader. Can you imagine?
I don't even know.
Deforrest sitting somewhere with a Bible while I'm trying to handicap the third at Vernon Downs.
You put those other two
while in school.
You're like this, that. Yeah, I guess the Bible.
I mean, it would be a distant third if I only had three options at this point. And so, and I love reading this sort of stuff. I mean, it's interesting from many, many different angles, from mathematical propositions, from gut feeling, from just trying to see if a guy can express an opinion well and convince you that he's right. Then, of course, you can track. I mean, they don't often keep tabs on this sort of stuff, right? Nobody likes to post a record. That's one thing I will give the New York Post great credit for when it comes to gambling, is that the guys that they employ, they are very upfront and very forthright with publishing their overall record. Good. Now, they've had to fudge that one guy, Howie Kasoy. They've had to fudge his record a little bit, on not necessarily in terms of just changing the numerology, but he had a sensational year the first year that he was handicapping college football games. I mean, like spectacular. So, something like 75% he was hitting, maybe even higher.
Okay.
And I think he extended that streak for a couple of years. So he was way up in terms of overall record, well above 500. And you would have to, at that time, have considered every play that this guy offered you as a potential to go ahead and reach into your pocket, dig into your bank account, unload your 401k, sell your house, and just go ahead and send it all in on whatever this guy was picking. It didn't matter how bizarre it seemed to you at the time. What? Baylor? Are you kidding me? Baylor? But you had to just ignore your own instincts, ignore anything that you felt, you knew about a game that was coming up that you had to lean towards, or even were convinced that one side could win. If this guy said go the other way, go the other way. He was one guy that you had to follow. But over the years, unfortunately, the wear and tear of gambling has caught up with this guy, and the war of attrition is starting to really take hold. And so now, when he has a losing record almost every year, they put his overall record, which is dwindled to the point where he's like 2 games over 500 after being about lifetime. They keep putting his lifetime record in.
Like lifetime.
But at least they're giving you the record. It's not like we talk about our favorite television channel, of course. I don't know about you, Lubie, but constantly on the TV, and I respect this about some of my friends also. Right, when you walk into somebody's house and you're not expecting them necessarily to be as sick of a degenerate as you are, and what's on the TV? But TVG, the racing channel. And you're watching horses go around the circuit there from Oaklawn Park and the fairgrounds, and this is what is on just as general fare on their television screen. While the wife is, oh yeah, he's watching horse racing. I respect that a great deal, and that happened to me yesterday with Marty the Party Sachs. We ended up in a mind bet meltdown. Betting horses, yeah, and it's just as much fun in some ways, because obviously you're not feeling the pain of losing every race as I did on Sunday. But I love engaging in any type of conversation about this. I'll read the logic, and I enjoy seeing what different people think about situations and whatever sport it happens to be. So yesterday, I happened to read this brilliant analysis by this guy from Action Sports in the New York Post, and he was handicapping a hockey game and recommending that you bet the Colorado Avalanche, who have the best record, I believe. I think they're ahead of the Panthers still, although the Florida Panthers, our own team. When do we start believing, Lubie? When do we start believing that these guys are actually going to do something?
I don't know. I'm believing, but no one around town is. You would think you'd go into the bar, go into the restaurant, go out and about and hear them talking about the Panthers. That's not.
Nothing, zero, no. You don't even see like a guy wearing like a Panther jersey or a T-shirt, nothing.
The Canes, you see, you're not. The people are really excited about the Canes. Cristobal has done nothing on a field yet. Yeah. But he's put together a really good staff, and people are excited. They're going to be better than Saban. But the Panthers are actually winning right now. And
they're dominating. I mean, they had their return after the All-Star break. They went on the road, and I remember reading some analysis. We'll see how good they are now. As they went on the road and took on a couple of really good teams. One of which was the Minnesota Wild, who are kind of one of those under the radar teams that nobody ever talks about. And why would you, right? It's fucking freezing there.
That's Minnesota.
Well, I mean, it's a hockey town, right? Somewhat. I don't know. Did you sense when we were there in Minneapolis for the Super Bowl that Minnesota, was it's a hockey state. They play college hockey there on a regular basis. Kids are out there on, the lake.
Pond.
Skating around, yes. Oh, good. It's July, and the ice is still good. Everybody else is getting blasted, by the way, in the country. I feel for you people. We're here in South Florida, and we are sitting on top of what would have to be described as just a lovely week of weather that we're going to have here, supposedly. I mean, you're talking about high 70s, relatively light humidity, sunshine all day long. Can you imagine? It's like living in paradise, my friend.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Like, I'm moving. I'm like, good luck.
I don't know that there's anywhere else to go. This is literally the poor man's paradise if you were thinking about making a move from some other part of the country, because you can live here on a modest amount of money, not maybe so much anymore. But by comparison to, say, Southern California.
I don't know. We're supposedly the most expensive place in the country right now, which I don't get because people don't make the money that they do in California.
No. I don't know. Why is that? Because we had no unions to speak of?
A lot of investors came in with crypto money to Miami, and they were paying cash. So
I see.
That throws the entire market out of freaking whack. And when people say Miami, it's actually South Florida. That's what I find funny. Well, Miami is crazy. It's not Miami. It's, I would say, West Palm down.
Yeah. I count, Broward, Dade County, the two counties there, and a little bit of the fringe of West Palm Beach as kind of being Miami to me. That was my concept of it anyway.
It's the same, the lifestyle. It used to, when I was growing up, it wasn't. Dade and Broward were very different. They're not anymore. They're one big thing. And that's
I still think they're very different because whenever I cross, I'll jog down to Hialeah when we would go down there every week. As soon as I got into Dade County, everything changed. All of a sudden, it was like you were driving on the streets of Rome, right? People were nuts. The rules were different. The laws were different. People are shooting at each other. It just... I don't know. I kind of feel a little safer here in my little enclave here in Lauderdale by the Sea. Mr. Hote address. Yes.
If you're in Southwest Miami, it can be fun. But if you just go to like North Dade, it's not any different.
Well, we had to schlep down a homestead there for your wedding. My God. travel through different universes here. It was like a trip to Jurassic Park, for God's sake. I was looking for Jeff Goldblum to be one of the people that was part of the wedding party.
God.
It's crazy. No, I mean, it's different turf. There's no doubt about it. I think people still consider it that. But that being said, I mean, this is definitely the place to be. Would you agree?
Yes, I will agree with that. Our weather right now is freaking phenomenal. And I'm not the biggest fan of the heat, but you know what? When I look at what's going on everywhere else, it's not so bad.
I was just watching some clips on the news. I have a monitor here in the background. If you see me glance off every now and then, it's because it's horrifying to see what's going on everywhere else, where words like wind chill and ice blizzard. I mean, you're looking at the weather in different parts of the country. It's absolutely atrocious everywhere. 100-car pileups, involving, at least 30 tractor trailers. I mean, everybody just smushed together there. And now you're thinking, not only is it bad, you're in an accident, but it's also freezing.
Yep.
But when you, and you can't get any help because nobody can get there because they can't see 2 feet in front of their nose. It's incredible. So anyway, good to be with you from here. And now I was talking about this whole hockey analysis thing before I got sidetracked there into the weather.
Yes.
And so this guy writes this brilliant dissertation. And this is why I think there's hope. I want to tell Jack Namer and Amy there's hope because I think we do something that nobody else does. And, and that is, have at least a lighthearted approach to this whole thing.
Yes.
Where we've suffered every difficult beat. We've felt every type of pain that you can possibly feel. The series of mowdowns, I mean, Big Rich was holding. Big Rich is a massive guy, okay? Would you say Big Rich might tip the scales there? Tipping the scales at a fit and trim, what, 285 maybe?
I was going to say like 6'4", 280. Like he's not fat. He's just he's a big man.
Big, massive guy, man. Yeah.
He's a big man.
And he has me, a little Defo, wrapped up in his arms. I felt like a child, a baby that was being protected by its mother as we're watching these stretch runs of race after race. And he's going, hold on, Defo! Hold on, Defo! Hold on, Defo! The whole place is like even chanting with him. People downstairs in the casino, the pari-mutuel room was upstairs in this particular place, casino that we go to. And sure enough, man, I mean, the whole casino is like, hold on, Defo! And every race, it's just an ugly blowout mowdown. So we felt it. We felt every ounce of pain that you could possibly feel. Now I read this guy's stuff, and he is convinced that the Colorado Avalanche will at least win their game against the Boston Bruins. This was in yesterday's paper, and the game took place last night. Convinced, and I wish I could read you a few of the passages here, because you would look at this and go, my God, this guy...
he's on it. Let's go.
May he rest in peace, but he probably knows more about hockey than Emil the Cat Francis, who just checked out. You're probably not familiar with that name, but he was a very distinguished coach of the New York Rangers for many, many years. Emil the Cat Francis. And I want to say he went on to become an executive with the team, including the team's GM. I would have to have maybe Andy verify that for me, but I'm pretty sure Emil the Cat Francis was originally the coach of the New York Rangers, and not the original coach, but a coach with the New York Rangers long term and well respected in New York. The Rangers were a pretty good team at that time. And people, Andy says he'll take over 280 on Big Rich.
Have you seen him?
I mean, every now and then a guy surprises you with the.
He's a big dude. Like he may even be bigger than 6'4", because you're like 6'1", and he like towers over you. So.
Oh no, he's large, man. Yeah,
he might be 5'6". He may be 300 something because he's really tall and he's a big frame. So like. And
you would probably think that if anybody from the Dolphins scouting staff had been at the, in this case, it was the Isle Casino, as it's known. If anybody had been there, they would have signed him and put him at left tackle.
Yeah, he'd be a great tight end offensive lineman, 100%.
Tony Baselli has nothing on this guy. Anyway, bottom line is, of course, after this brilliant dissertation about how the Avalanche were going to beat the Bruins, all they had to do was win by 1 goal. They get trounced 5-1. And that's the difference. I mean, here, we would have laughed that off, shrugged that off.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, I mean, some people have no shame, too, because that same guy will come right back the next day with a very convincing argument about another loser.
Not even talk about the fact that he lost. Like, that's why I like, at least Brendan Lang, it's graphic. But whenever we have him come on. And
Brandon Lang, when he loses, he takes it hard, literally.
Very honest about it. And Lawrence and the professor, all of our guys have always been very upfront. Look, that's why, again, it's called gambling and not winning. So you might as well own it so people trust you, you have credibility, and just keep going.
People are trying to convince you, and I guess this is being fueled. This is why I think we're going to make it in this racket, Lubie. And I don't mean to get too into our underlying philosophies and goals here, because we're here to entertain people. I mean, essentially, also. And I don't know that we would bag this show altogether. But if somebody was paying you just a pile of money just to do stuff on gambling, well, would you not at least consider it?
We would do everything. I have no problem doing lots of stuff. That's why we're very proud to be with 5 Reasons, Ion, and Believe, because there's no reason why we can't do more, and we would definitely do that. That's for sure.
Yeah. I wish, and we had a technological flaw yesterday. We recorded an interview with a young lady named Megan Imbert.
Yeah, it's up right now.
And we were really hoping to bring that to you today. Unfortunately, it got lost into cyberspace?
Yeah, we recorded it. And we have it again. It's up on Believe right now. Just search After Hours, Believe.com. The whole conversation's there right now. But we were going to do it double. We wanted to show the video as well because we were able to get her time.
Had her linked up and everything. Yes.
And it was another, like, seeing her and her frustrations and her anxiousness.
People are probably thinking, well, let me explain. I mean, they're probably thinking, who the hell is Megan Imbert? Which was my first reaction. When Lubie introduces one of these guests that he's lined up for a variety of different reasons, some of which might be that he really owes the PR guy a giant favor for getting him somebody of much greater, at least perceived significance. And so I'll go, yeah, sure, Lubie, I'll talk to this person. Who the hell is she, right? So anyway, it turns out Megan Imbert, and you should check this out. It was interesting. The shame is we had her linked up on video here for Ion Channel. We're trying to record it, and for some reason, the thing didn't record the video. All right, so we lost that. Amy tried her best to salvage it, but she essentially got back to Lubie and said, "Hey, there's nothing here, Lubie.
Yeah,
nothing here."
Either we were on, but they didn't record the video, which is really fucking annoying. But we did get the audio, we did get the conversation, and it is up now.
Wow. All right. So her story is this, that she was the video director, in-house video production manager for the Washington football team.
I think it was the Redskins. I mean, because I think it was like, she said 2008 or something. So I think it was the Redskins.
Yeah, when they were still the Skins? All right.
Redskins, so yeah.
Whatever they were, we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
it's Dan Snyder's organization, the team that plays in Washington, D.C., that is despised by John Feinstein, one of the most respected, I would have to think, in terms of intellectual perception. That this guy is great, John Feinstein, and he hates Dan Snyder.
Hates
him, right? We say John Feinstein, we say to John Feinstein, Dan Snyder, and 45 minutes later he finishes just a scathing indictment against this man. Scathing, scalding, damning, explosive, inflammatory, any word that applies to that sort of thing, right? I sound like I'm doing a Geraldo show here. Now we don't delve into this area that often, where we have some kind of explosive commentary coming forward on this program. I mean, we want to have a good time with people. We like to get to know them. We might find out something about somebody that we were unaware of that turns out to be a very charming part of their character or their life story. But rarely do we have somebody just come on and, deliver bombshell after bombshell in Brian Flores type of fashion, where, you're thinking, whoa, man, that's a pretty strong statement. And so I would check this out on the Believe Podcast Network because I was looking forward. I was hoping we would be able to bring you this interview today with Megan Imbert. And she just flat out says that while she was excluded as the production manager of the in-house video core of the Washington football team, the Redskins, the Commanders now, that she was unaware that Dan Snyder or somebody on his behalf had personally requested that somebody on the crew go in and do a voyeurism type video of the cheerleaders as they were either unclothed or partially clothed, very much exposing some prominent parts of their anatomy. And that he then had it set to his own personal music.
His favorite music.
His favorite song. I mean, and acted like he had nothing to do with it. And when they did this investigation, oh, no, that didn't happen.
They supposedly did it every year. And they would also have a different producer on it every year. So that anyone going, this is weird. We're doing this yearly.
And her implication was, and let's face it, I don't know. I mean, at what point do you sacrifice your integrity to keep a job?
And that's the thing.
And,
she is
maybe
smart.
in some cases, people are working in the NFL. It's their first job, their initial offering, much like, we were saying with Brian Flores. I mean, can you imagine you finally get a job as a black head coach after this monumental struggle to get into a position like that with Rooney rules in effect for 20 years. And they're like 2.5 black men coaching in the NFL. And you're one of them. At least at that time, there were 3 with Brian Flores. And, the owner of the team who just hired you and says, I know you're going to be very successful here. I don't care that you're black. And he tells you, you know what? I'll give you $100,000 for every game that you lose. Extra. $1.6 million extra added to your salary if you lose every game, Brian. How about that? Now, what happens to a coach in that situation? I mean, did you see Coco Cameron get another NFL job after going 1-15 that year?
Never,
right? Nobody would consider it. He came off as a clown.
Well, look, Keim, the guy that was with the Cardinals, was like a college defensive coordinator. I think he's finally gotten back to the NFL. No one's considering him as an NFL head coach again. Like, that's the funny thing. People that are like, well, it is what it is. It's like, he's not guaranteed anything. The Dolphins aren't guaranteeing him to keep his job if he goes wrong with it.
No, they're just telling him, hey, I want you to go 0-16 this first year, please. And then we'll see what you can do. At that point, you've already alienated the fans. The fans think you're a buffoon.
Yep.
And, your resume is not going to look good. And there's a pretty good chance that you're going to finish your career with a sub-500 record.
Yes.
Just from taking 16 losses. Remember Jimmy Leland? Didn't want to coach that 98 Marlins team, even though Wayne Huizenga just bought him a house like on a point lot on the Intercoastal with ocean access. Whatever he could do for the man, he couldn't do enough to keep him here. He had won the World Series in '97. He pulled the rug out from under the team there. I always liked that thing, that trick. Who did that the best, where they pull the tablecloth out and all of the settings stay in place?
I don't know.
On like an elaborately set table.
Yeah, it was always impressive.
Magicians do that, man. They have me right there. and that's what Huizenga did. Everybody knows the story now. I don't need to go into too much detail on that. I mean, he stripped the club of all of its talent. He got rid of all of the free agents that had helped them, win the World Series in '97. And he was very upset that baseball players were a bunch of sour pricks, basically. At least ungrateful. I mean, that's what he felt. That was the story. I mean, the so-called inside story was that what really sent him up a tree in terms of baseball, Wayne Huizenga, who was the owner of the team and, of course, owned the Miami Dolphins, original owner of the Florida Panthers, went big-time businessman. Waste management. Did you catch that when they were pelting the green with beer cans in that Waste Management Phoenix Open? Pelting the green with beer cans on more than one occasion.
It's very golf. That's very golf-like.
I mean, even in New York. Right? When they have the U.S. Open there, they don't do that.
No, that's ridiculous.
What's up with the people in Phoenix? I thought they were nice. They're torched from the sun that comes down at 120 degrees every day. Every day, right? Pale yourself to a cactus just to get some relief. That feels good. A spike in the back. But anyway, I mean, it's atrocious to think that somebody would be in that position. And, be telling a guy to go ahead and lose. And Jim Leland left the Marlins that year because he didn't want to have, I guess he stayed on and managed that 1 year. And he didn't want to tarnish his lifetime record.
Yeah, and he got out.
Got out, right? He said, hey, Wayne, bleep your money. Yeah, I'm out of here, man. I don't want to be labeled as a loser. So, I mean, asking a coach to do that in the first year that he finally, after whatever arduous road it was and whatever additional mountains and hills that a black coach in the NFL had to climb to get into a head coaching position. Do you really want to be just like a token guy?
No.
Why not just hire Lee Harvey Oswald at that point, right? I'm a patsy.
And that's the thing. Like, it doesn't, at the time, you're like, okay, cool, it's a gig. If I do a good job, they'll keep me. Well, we saw what happened. Eventually, Flores wore out his welcome. I mean, I don't know where he's going on podcast saying it was because of race. I don't know it's because of race. I don't think he figured out the offense. And I think either Greer or Flores was going to go, and Ross thinks of Greer like a son. I don't know. He has this weird thing for Greer. So they went after Flores. I mean, I don't know where race played in with him.
But if you own the team, right, you're an NFL owner, and the guy that you hired to coach just constantly was telling you to go bleep yourself.
Yeah. No, eventually you're going to get rid of the guy.
And more or less openly defying anything that you wanted to do. Playing Fitzpatrick was something that it turned out to be very effective. I mean, you would think at some point a guy that was hiring somebody to try and take a franchise that had been in the doldrums for 2 decades and longer than that. I mean, their last championship is in 1970. What, the 74 Super Bowl? Would that be it?
The 73 season happened in 74. Yes.
74 Super Bowl. That's their last title.
Yes,
that's among the leaders in futility. I mean, if you want to really get serious about it, Dolphin fans and the people here in South Florida, I mean, we don't like to face this fact, do we? Or we haven't had that feeling here since 1974.
Yeah, I mean, they went to a couple of Super Bowls in the 80s, but they got housed. And they went to one AFC championship in the 90s and got housed. So they haven't been competitive on any level. Like even the Rams, which were a laughingstock for long, have won multiple Super Bowls now. The Patriots, were a joke going back to the 80s, have become a dynasty.
Yeah, like Steve Grogan was on like cereal boxes.
Exactly.
In Beantown there. Are you kidding me? I mean, that was all they had to hold their, hang their hat on.
The Cardinals have gone to a Super Bowl since the Dolphins went to an AFC championship. Yes, the Dolphins are among one of the worst organizations in American sports. They just are. If you look at recent winning or lack thereof.
So you don't want to be the coach that takes that job and then has the owner tell you, hey, listen, man, I want you to just destroy this team. And then they did everything in their power. They really did. I could understand the acrimony. But if you were the owner of the team and some guy is just openly defying everything that you think should be done and that your trusted advisors are telling you needs to happen, eventually you probably tire of the guy, no?
Yes.
Don't you think?
Well, and he had issues with, it seemed like the entire organization, with his own staff. Every year he was retooling his offensive staff.
Yeah, he had, in the 3 years that he was there, he probably went through, I would say, 37 offensive coaches.
Probably, honest.
It's not exactly what you would call stable. That's for sure. All right, many things to discuss here on the program. And we're happy to be with you. We wish we could have brought you that Megan Imbert interview. I do suggest you listen to it. It was more effective, too, with her on video. That was kind of nice. This is a new technology that Lubie and I are trying to incorporate into the program here, and I thought we had it. Explosive comments, though, just flat out said, Snyder did this, and the NFL is doing nothing about it.
Yep.
And now that it's come to their attention again, I mean, and we contend this, that the happiest person on the face of the earth to be ever sued by anybody was Dan Snyder being sued by Brian Flores.
Exactly.
As an NFL owner, you consider him to be obviously a part of that lawsuit.
Yeah, he is.
And when that story came out about Flores and the lawsuit that he filed against the NFL, it took the spotlight completely away from more horror stories about Dan Snyder's abuse of women inside the organization of the Washington Redskins, now Commanders football team.
Yep.
Because, I mean, there were women in front of Congress going, yeah, man, it was a joke. And, all of a sudden, here comes Flores, and he says, there's systemic racism in the NFL. Hello? And, at least, I don't know, is it systemic or is it just, that these 32 old, stuffy white codgers won't let go of, what may be a subliminal principle to them that, hey, I'd be better off with the white guy. What do you think?
That's just like, it's not, if people want to say it's not blatant, fine. It's not conscious, overt, fine. It's systemic. It's the organizations are set up where only white people own them. So the white people want to align themselves with people that they're comfortable with, which is a pseudo-racial term.
Yeah.
And so they just keep perpetuating it over and over and over again. So that's the thing is you get more minorities into ownership, minorities into management positions, minorities into assistant coaching positions, then the system is now changed and you can avoid systemic racism. But the problem is the NFL doesn't push that. Finally, now you're getting benefits like the Niners because they had an African-American or half, whatever you want to call it.
That seems like an insulting incentive, though, to me.
It's a weird one.
It really is kind of insulting. If it works, great. I guess.
The thing is, I don't know. I mean, if it works, then it's better than nothing.
I think that happened by accident more so than by design. That they ended up with 2 third-round picks. I mean, the way it works, they get 2 compensatory picks for developing a minority that eventually went on to become a head coach in their system, which they did with McDaniel. I'm hoping the guy does all right. I really am. I wanted to talk to John about it. He's going to be with us on Friday, John Conjemi, with a little Dateline Dolphins and some NFL conversation. We're not going to ignore the NFL because I wonder, do you think Brett Tesser was out there like William Kunstler, leading the charge there? Because the players, whatever, the agents that were trying to force the NFL to be more liberal about their COVID restrictions at the Combine got their way. They won out. The NFL said, we don't care. You want to go out in the streets and run around, throw snowballs at each other? Fine with us. So they relinquished, and relented on some of the bubble restrictions they were going to have on the players that were going to come to the Combine, which I don't know. I mean, the Combine, does that do anything for you in reality? When you think about it, who was the guy with the hairpiece that we always used to make fun of?
Charlie Casserly.
Charlie Casserly, yeah. I mean, that's the only interesting thing is that when they show you the empty stadium there in Indianapolis, I guess, are they doing that at Lucas Oil Field?
Yeah, they always do it at Lucas Oil Stadium, yep.
Okay. Stadium. There's Casserly. He's the only guy in the building. And he's got a little white pad. He's making some notes there. And, you're seeing some scrub that's never going to make it into the league that likely already has a plane ticket to Saskatchewan. And Charlie's making a few notes, right? Is he still around, Charlie Casserly, or did he check out? I want to say he checked out. I want to go under.
I think he died. I think he's alive. He just doesn't do stuff anymore.
I haven't seen him in a long time. That's the highlight of me. And, of course, watching some, laboring, big slug of a lineman in the 40-yard dash is good. And then I have to say, I mean, when this is one of the highlights, seeing Rich Eisen in a suit and tie run. I'm not a big Eisen fan. We had a little incident there where he stiffed us on, substituting for him on his show. Said, I want to use one of my Hollywood friends, right?
And the guy sucked.
Well, the guy behind the scenes was saying, these guys are really good.
And he kept pushing us. It was great.
Yeah.
Casserly's alive. He's 74. I just don't. I think
74? I thought he was like 104.
I don't think
Casserly.
Because he looked old for like the last 30 years. I just don't think the NFL Network has used him for years. Like, I haven't seen him in a while.
He was a funny duck, man. Didn't we have him on a couple of times? I think we did.
Yeah, for draft stuff.
Yeah, Charlie Casserly. Seemed knowledgeable, did he not? He was very matter of fact, man. Almost like, Hubie Brown is to basketball. That's how kind of Casserly was with his draft proposition analysis, which I refuse to zero in and log into any of the mock drafts that are out there, Lubie. I'm resisting that today. And I'm not adverse to checking out like a mock draft.
Yeah, but
every now and then, because I always like to mock your pick. Speaking of mocking, whatever it is. Which I mean, you've led every team in town. I mean, if we just were following your draft advice, complete catastrophe. If you were the GM of any of these teams, including, I mean, still the all-time classic, the Justice Winslow pick, where you were screaming, Winslow.
For sure, taking Winslow. Yeah,
Winslow Homer would have been a better pick at that point. Yeah. And, it is nice to see Devin Booker prosper because we happened to spot that very early on. You would have had Tua at quarterback instead of Justin Herbert, of course.
Yes.
You might have taken Jamar Chase, although it's going to be an interesting dynamic here. And we'll get into this. John's going to join us on Friday. But Wes Welker coaching Jalen Waddle, I think, is a very interesting dynamic. No? Wes Welker, I mean, if he could somehow impart whatever it was, that he did instinctively to any wide receiver. And Waddle's also a smallish guy, too, like Wes Welker, but much more athletic, he would have.
But the goal is to have him not just be Welker. Welker had an amazing career at going over the middle. The idea of Waddle being drafted in the top 10 was that he could take the roof off of the top.
But don't you think that guy that had the ability to do what was done in the NFL, by Wes Welker, could also even more greatly relate to a guy who had that ability that he didn't have.
That'd be hope
to be more explosive, much like Megan Imbert would have been if she had been on a show here about the Washington football team.
I'd hope so. I unlike the professor, I don't just the way Welker left the Patriots, I give him a pass because he left in bitterness, went to the Broncos, and then beat the Patriots and went to a Super Bowl. So I don't really hold much against him. He started as a Dolphin, and he went on to have a really good career as a guy that people didn't think was more than like a.
But he delivered. I mean, clutch players. You know, you can't necessarily be a clutch player if you only come through in big spots and then are generally a bust the rest of the time. But Welker was always great, and then especially so in clutch situations. Yes. I mean, he was a veritable Jerry West when you needed a play to be made, except for that one when Giselle was still screaming in the elevator, remember?
The drop.
How could you not catch that pass from my Tommy? She was pissed too, huh? She punched deliberately like every floor, so we'd stop on every floor just to annoy the team executives that were on the same elevator with her from the Patriots, right? I think Bobby Kraft was like, really? We're stopping again at 2? Don't you hate people that do that? I don't know.
I'm not
you must have done that at some point in your lifetime. I know I did.
Oh, that's annoying.
There are things I've done in my past that I'm not particularly proud of.
Or a few.
All right. We're coming back with a lot more. Harvey Fialkov's going to join us here on this Tuesday edition of the program. 22222. Wow. 22222. And also Brett Tester, the agent to the stars. So we'll get into some things with Brett. Kind of interesting. I was looking over, Lubie, you'll appreciate this in my research for the show today. Available free agent quarterbacks, right? And, this, list is not necessarily the most distinguished, but probably the most interesting one is your man, Jameis Winston.
Jameis, yeah. We're talking about him going to the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers have actually a lot of talent. They just needed a quarterback who's not dead.
Does he come back from this injury? He was having a very, very promising looking season.
Yep, in the
beginning of the year for the New Orleans Saints, and then it all went up in smoke. Now it wasn't like he was perfect, but he also had gone through. It seemed like, at least from the feature that I saw on him, and that's not basing it on much. Watching 3-minute video on a guy, but he looked like he had a complete mental metamorphosis.
Yeah, he had one bad game in that stretch, but every other game he either went no turnovers or like one. Like, he was a very different quarterback. He was a lot more game manager than risk taker until he got hurt.
And then Deshaun Watson, wow, what a complete mystery this remains, huh? What does he do? Just have his lawyer there, that Rusty Harden guy, who was Clemens' attorney, and also was an attorney in many high-profile cases where it looked like the guy was dead wrong.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't know, man. I don't see it, right? Yeah, I mean, you see all of these law shows and everything on TV, and then you see what this guy does to get a guy off, and next thing you know, he's off. And you're thinking, like the old Johnny Cochran thing, right? He would have flunked out of law school if he got up there with his stocking cap on and a pair of gloves and said, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. I mean, can you imagine? Even Dershowitz, the Harvard professor, would have thrown him right out of school. Listen, Cochran, you'll bury people with that approach.
What the fuck?
It's amazing, what seems like it would be least likely to succeed usually works. Maybe that's why there's hope for us, Lubie, here late in the game. But DraftKings, we're coming.
We're here.
Right? Who else? I mean, it takes a more, clairvoyant approach to the whole thing. I mean, just the whole.
Well, it's boring. The gambling talk is it's usually people that don't know anything.
Yeah.
And they're very stiff.
Yeah.
You work it inorganically, naturally.
Yeah.
Some people say a lot, but it's not stiff. It's fun.
No, I mean, it really does make life very much. All life is a gamble. Let's face it. That's why it's so popular, right? People are just manifesting everything that they feel in their inner being into sort of a mathematical equation and hoping to come out on top against the point spread or by, whatever. I mean, who devised these scoring systems, right? All of a sudden, it's like crypto clearance. Cryptocurrency. Crypto clearance was a racehorse. Cryptocurrency. Is it real? I don't know. All of these, mathematical truths that are being forced into various permutations to come up with who you think is going to win a game. I don't know, right? I mean, the real analysis usually is just that, hey, you know what? I'm going with the Patriots because the Dolphins play like shit.
That's what it comes down to.
Never mind, like all of these quantum physics and calculus problems that they present to you. Well, you know what? In situations of 3rd and 1, 17% of the time they run the ball, and when they do, they're successful on 85% of their tries there. Therefore, I would say lay the points. No, we can't do that to you, people. We don't want to torture you like that. Yeah. All right, Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, Hialeah Park, man. There's no torture there, man, unless you're not going. In which case, it's not really torture because you just don't know what kind of excitement you're missing out on by not visiting the casino there at Hialeah Park. And I say visiting in the fondest of terms because they make you feel so welcome when you come in. Get a player's card when you come through the door. That's absolutely the right move to make. Mustang has her player's card, and all the time they're sending us all kinds of things saying, hey, you know what? Come down, show your player's card, bingo. You've got like $50 in free play. I mean, it happens, and you can check out all of the great special arrangements they've made for people with player's cards at HialeahPark.com. They're always putting stuff up there. And they have the full calendar of events. And then, I mean, just your basic Hialeah Park presentation is overwhelmingly great. It's fantastic. Champion simulcasting room, top notch. Poker room, first class. Casino, dazzling, as we like to say. With jackpots being won all the time, Steve Calabro wouldn't have it any other way. We love all the people there, and they love you right back, man. It's just absolutely great. It's been a family affair there forever with the Brunettis. They do a great job, really care about the community there and everything else that's going on, and they want you to have a good time. That's why it's spectacular, whether you're talking about going in there, just, spend a couple of hours and playing, trying your luck with the machines, or just getting something great to eat and picking up the tremendous vibe there, or any of their fine and special entertainment programs that they have, including the boxing, which was a smashing hit when it came back, so I'm sure it's coming back again. A lot of great stuff always going on at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. Harvey Fialkov later on. Need a dose of enthusiasm. I think he's a believer that the Florida Panthers, how could you not believe at this point that they will be a factor in the postseason unless you're the gambling gourmet, that cynic, that sourpuss, that skyline chili eating Mike Mayo is the only guy that believes, well, I'll believe it when I see him win a playoff series. Come on, man. I mean, you got to go Blutarski on this. Who's with me? Let's go. I think they're just playing too well to choke in the first round of the playoffs. So what do you think, Lubie? I don't care what the matchup is. And they're obviously in a position to maybe go against like an 8th seed in the East. So, do they have East and West in hockey? Yeah, I think they do.
I don't know what they have anymore. Well, I'm confused what they have still. Do they still have conferences?
It was easier to follow when they had like the Norris division and all of that clown stuff, right? Guys you never heard of. Yeah. That was Artie Norris. He started the NHL. It's like, what? Who the hell is he?
I guess they're still in East and the West. The divisions confuse the crap out of me.
All right, Harvey's coming up on the program. Brett Tesler, the agent to the Stars, and then, as we said, I would recommend. I rarely tout our own work here, but that Megan Imbert thing, kind of, usually you're doing interviews and you have a pretty good idea what the answers to the questions are going to be. In this case, I actually what was sort of like I get hit by a right hand by Alexis Arguello. I was like, wow,
yeah.
You're really saying it? I mean, you're basically saying directly that Dan Snyder ordered these voyeurism, nude videos of Washington Redskins cheerleaders and then had them set to like Inagata DeVito, which just happened to be his favorite song. Insane. So, that was, and I kept, kind of referring to the comments as like inflammatory. They weren't really inflammatory. I was, groping for a word, Libby. And it was explosive, is what she was saying. And they're on the show.
Well, something's going on with this.
Yeah, you switch this up here. I mean,
I didn't do anything. The thing just weirded out, and now you're stuck. It was interesting also that she was like the head of the department, and they would mysteriously have her not there.
Right.
No, you don't need to be in this meeting.
Yeah. Hey, Wally, get in here. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to run down to the locker room, and when they're naked, I want a full-on shot. I want breasts. I want everything. I don't want pasties and a G-string. I want full-on nudity. And then we're going to set that thing. Here's Dan's favorite song, You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone.
That was weird.
You light up my life, right? I mean, and there's like naked cheerleaders ordered by Dan Snyder. And what did he do? I mean, and she was very, very, this Megan Imbert, condemning of the National Football League's complete turn a blind eye to whatever was happening. And then, obviously this popped up again with the Dallas Cowboys. And unfortunately involved the name of what at one time I considered to be a good friend of ours, and that was Rich Dalrymple. Not that I've turned my back on him, because you really don't know. I mean, it's just Did you ever have something happen to a friend like he showed up on Unsolved Mysteries, Lubie?
You did. I've never had that.
Yes. And you were like, wow. I can't imagine that you were involved in something like that.
That's crazy.
It just didn't fit the character. No, in the case of the guy that was on Unsolved Mysteries, he was the victim of what was an unsolved mystery. Yeah.
You're like, what? You're like, Will? That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm watching. I see Robert Stack. He comes out in a raincoat. You're always wondering if he had clothes on underneath that. Andy Granatelli didn't. That guy that was selling the STP stop leak or whatever that was. Did that work, by the way, when you poured that into your engine? Like if you had like a crack in your engine block and you poured some STP stop leak in there, did that actually stop the oil from leaking out? I don't know, Libby. Did you ever try it? I remember pouring several cans into a van when I was driving through Texas and just hoping to make it to the state line. But yeah, I mean, very, very explosive comments by this young lady, and she's going to join us again. So maybe we can connect her up live one day here on the show sometime down the road, and revisit some of the things that she had to say about it as this situation develops. Where now what? Yet another. Is it another House investigation of the Washington Commanders organization?
Stuff against Dan Snyder, which has never been the case. He's always been pretty Teflon. Now they have supposedly, as Megan said, again, check out the conversation. They have some stuff on him, supposedly. So we'll see.
That seemed to be pretty convincing what she had to say yesterday. I don't know that you can. I mean, it's just like Brian Flores. Could he really make up that Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 a game to lose a game? And think that was going to fly? You would think not, right? That there might be some element of truth to it. Otherwise, I mean, it's just too bold, that case inflammatory of a statement to just go ahead and make up with no foundation in truth because you're mad that you got fired as the Dolphins head coach. All right, we're coming back with more here on Eye on Channel. We've kind of flipped the switch here, Mike Lubitz. I don't know what happened there, but it looks kind of odd because I'm looking over here and I'm seeing myself. Which maybe this is the way it should be. I don't know. People, what do you think? What do you think? I wouldn't mind.
I can't do it this way. The thing I've tried to have you be to the left and me to the right. I don't know how to do it.
Maybe Brad Schiller, inserted himself into the equation here. It's possible, right? All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on Eye on Channel. Google the Defo Show, and a lot of people catching on. A lot of people finding some of our stuff on 5 Reasons Sports Network. Sure. Scoop Skolnick's a great organization. You said the O.J. McDuffie thing was a big hit yesterday.
Really well, yeah. It's up
on
right
that
now.
platform. So that's good. So some numerology now being associated with the show. People keep asking me, hey, is anybody watching? And I'm saying yes. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:53.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
The lovely Debbie Boone joins us here. The song You Light Up My Life. It's one of those songs that, well, at least for some period of time, I think in virtually every human being, no matter what language they speak, that it was in their head for a period of time. To the point where everybody walked around with that You light up my life on their mind, right? Which has to be a sensational tribute and distinction for anybody that's in the music business.
Well, for the most part, yes. And I am very, very grateful. But a few people did want to break that vinyl over my head.
Here's your record, Debbie. I'm using it as a Frisbee. What are you talking about?
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
People are flipping out over this big switcheroo that you've made there, Michael Lubitz, which you say you have lost control of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I lost the bat for a second, and then out of nowhere, I went away, and then I magically came back on the other side.
It's like a Rod Serling type of thing.
It's creeping me
that was Outer Limits, right? Where they implied that you had lost control of your television set. So we've lost control of our video stream here on Ion Channel. All right, welcome back to the show. Doing a lot of things here on this Tuesday, and once again, we apologize for not being able to bring you that Megan Imbert interview, as explosive as anything that I think I've been a part of, and I was surprised because she was very casual about how she got into all of this stuff, right? But just flat out said, Dan Snyder did it. He ordered these videos. It was of the Washington Redskins cheerleaders. This was a woman who was the director of their in-house video team, which, obviously had made these videos for Snyder, customized. She was not invited to the meeting when this project was discussed.
Yep.
And, and while without her knowledge at the time, but which she came to realize later on, her own department was being used to make these videos, which is, bringing her into this, level of disgrace also. And I would imagine you'd be very resentful of that, would you not, Mike Lubitz, if I brought you into such a level of disgrace, which you could question whether we're there right now. But
what I also think interesting is she's left the industry. Like, she actually won an Emmy. She's an Emmy.
Yeah.
At the time, and this was like the early 2010s, I think, when she left. She was like in her mid-20s, had won an Emmy, had gotten to really good levels, so was about to explode in the industry. And because of the culture, and she used the word toxic, the toxic culture that existed and still exists, I guess, today, she said, screw the entire industry. She's like, I just don't want to be, the NFL is complicit in it. All these franchises are complicit. Like, I don't even want to be around it. And she hasn't even tried to dip her toe back into it.
The weirdest thing for me, and we mentioned this a couple of times when we were talking to Megan Imbert yesterday on our Believe podcast, and thinking that we'd be able to bring this to you here today on Ion Channel, and I was very excited about it because, it was very unusual to have somebody just absolutely lamb-based and with testimony that where it, it didn't seem like it was unfounded, obviously, but, and everything along those lines has been said and applied about the organization. But as John Feinstein goes nuts about, they've never been able to hammer, Snyder to the wall there and get this little weasel out of the league.
Yeah.
But didn't sound too promising from the picture she painted. But, the thing that always strikes me with this cheerleader abuse sort of stuff that goes on, and, I remember cheerleaders telling me stories about how, they made $15 a game. And, they went through arduous workouts or whatever, and all kinds of extreme criticism that they were receiving, and body shaming and stuff like that. And, you had to step on a scale. It was like that scene at a casino, right? When De Niro had the potential dancers for his Vegas show, stepping on the scale there. Wait a minute, you're 2 pounds over. I told you to lose some weight.
Oh, God.
I mean, imagine, and you would have to say that, the cheerleaders that you see around the National Football League are, at least in the American ideal, considered to be extremely attractive.
Yes,
no?
great looking. 100%.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, to be, constantly shamed for that sort of thing and demeaned, it doesn't seem worth it. And at the same time, these are the people that, in many ways, are often the face of the franchise.
Yes. That's what's weird, is the way they treat the cheerleaders is not how they present them. They present cheerleading like every year at the beginning of the year.
Like their royalty,
They're the ones that they send out to get everyone excited about the season. When it comes to season tickets, when they have events, the Dolphins cheerleaders are like, they don't send players; they send cheerleaders.
Yes,
so they obviously know their value.
Well, because they didn't have any players of any significance there for a long period of time, also, unless you were going to, request Tua. But no, it is amazing that the cheerleaders are often the face of the franchise. I mean, you'll see them out there at all charity events. They're the first people you see when you come into the stadium. They have them outside greeting people. They're the first people that come onto the field there. Hey, let's welcome the Dolphin cheerleaders or whatever team of cheerleaders. Dallas Cowboys, of course, being the most famous. I don't even think you could debate that group and cheerleading squad anywhere in the world. Is that not a fair statement, Mike Lubitz? Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, the most prominent, significant cheerleading squad of any type.
It was them and the Laker girls when I was growing up. Those were the two that everyone talked about.
Dallas Cowboys, I think, buried the Laker girls in terms of public knowledge and prominence. Let's say, or awareness. Everybody knew who the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders were, what they represented, and probably could recognize a few of them, right? And yet, I mean, the way that they're treated, I mean, to think that this is going on a regular basis inside the NFL now, it can't be something that the people in the league office are unaware of, can it? How could Roger Goodell have no idea that this is happening?
They don't care. I guess they care. You and I talked about this yesterday. They don't care until the sponsors make them care.
Right.
Otherwise, they don't give a shit.
Donald Sterling would still own the L.A. Clippers if it wasn't for the fact that Pepsi put a tarp over their head there at the Staples Center. And next thing you know, I tell you what, Donnie, we're not going to be able to tolerate your racial, bias anymore. You can't go on, publicly with a recorded conversation saying you don't want any black people in the front row. Like they had no idea that this was this guy's, leaning, and belief anyway. That, because you had never seen a black person probably in the front row before. He was sitting there with V. Stiviano, who was trying to bilk him out of whatever cash he was going to. Well, he ended up with $2 billion, though. See, that's the other thing. These people end up prospering by all of this, right? If Snyder was forced to sell the Redskins, or now the Commanders, he would end up getting such an enormous amount of money compared to whatever his investment was that, I mean, think about it. What is a Washington football franchise worth? I would think a fortune. No?
Yeah. It's year in, year out, one of the top 5 to 10. I mean,
yes,
top 3 in like all of sports. Now, I don't know if it's still that high, but I know when it comes to the NFL, it's top 5 to 10.
Their fan base still sees John Riggins plowing forward for 5 behind the Hogs. And, play after play and just relentlessly beating down their opposition there with, maybe like a 45-year-old Sonny Jurgensen chucking the rock. Anyway, it was interesting because, all of a sudden now the NFL, the happiest guy in the world when Flores' lawsuit came out was Dan Snyder.
Yeah.
Because they were standing up in Congress screaming. It was him. It was him. He ordered it. Ruined my life. And, Goodell's cringing because, this is like the, very benign week, leading up to the week before the Super Bowl where, you try to get some flowery propositional stuff out there. Like, well, you know what? We're selling big in Europe. Someday we may have a team there.
Exactly.
Are you really considering that, Raj? Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that comes out that week. The partnership with the XFL, which I didn't understand. Well, what are they, partners or not with the XFL? Did you see that story surface? NFL developments?
No.
And XFL coming back in 2023.
Okay.
Wasn't that Oliver Luck? Was he the commissioner of the XFL?
Yeah.
No, that was the USFL, right? Which hybrid football league?
USFL was another one, and we did talk to someone from there, but I don't think Luck was involved.
Well, what happened to them? They're finished, right?
They both failed. Yeah, they both failed. USFL is supposed to come back this year, I thought. I didn't know. The XFL folded because of COVID, so I don't. Are both doing things?
I have a tough time watching minor league professional football.
It's fine for like I don't know why. And then I get over it.
Yeah,
it's not sustainable.
I'd rather watch Keanu Reeves leading the replacements down the field, even though I know the outcome. Right? Remember the goofy kicker from where was he? From like Ireland or something? He's Scottish.
Yeah, Scottish or Irish. Yeah, that guy was great.
He was great, man. That guy was a great character.
Singing in his mouth.
All right, many things happening, and we're going to get into it with Harvey Fialkov here.
Sir.
We were, talking a little bit of the hockey. Shoot the puck, which isn't often discussed. And I would have to say I haven't seen enough NHL hockey this year outside of highlights to have any definitive opinion about who is going to win the cup, right? I mean, the two teams that seem to be talked about the most are, the Colorado Avalanche. Everybody has them as their favorite to win it all. And the Florida Panthers have had a sensational, by any standard, a spectacular season. A phenomenal record at home. Now, and since, I guess what? Is it the month of February began? They haven't played that many games because they had that ridiculous All-Star break where the entire league disappeared for. What was that? Because they cleared out the time for the Olympics? That possibly could have led into the scheduling. It was ugly. And they had a lot of COVID problems early in the year at the NHL with games, did they not? Where they were having teams that didn't play for like weeks at a time.
Yes.
And the Islanders had no stadium. Yeah. Hey, Lou, when is this thing going to be done? You said start of the season. They were like, what? We need permits. We need something. I don't know. They finally finished that thing off, which was replacing a well-liked relic in the Nassau Coliseum. Everybody said the same thing. Place is a dump, but people liked it for some reason. There was a tremendous Islander history there with the 4 championships, but there's another team also that I know they did well. Now, didn't they make it into the conference final the last 2 years? The New York Islanders, Lubie, with Barry Trotz, my favorite coach.
I know they made runs. Did they get that far? They made it to the conference finals?
I believe they did, yeah. The New York Islanders. But this year, they're having a lousy season. It's been like completely disrupted and, haven't really had that much luck. But the Panthers, I think, are a legitimate contender this year, just based on that. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them play enough to say, you know what, these guys are really playing some, whatever team sport you're watching, they're playing well as a team and at a very, very high level. And they're annihilating teams that were supposed to be, very much stumbling blocks for them. Did they come back and beat Carolina? Is that who they beat on the road in that first game this week? Because Carolina is another one of those teams that you would have to give consideration to.
Sunday, they pounded the Blackhawks Sunday.
Blackhawks are in shambles, though. I mean, and if you caught that owner with his kind of Hitler-esque town meeting that he had, I'll tell you what we're going to talk about here. He didn't endear himself to anybody. After
play the Predators today.
This whole thing with the player that was sexually abused, Beach. His name came up, and the guy was seeing red from that moment on, and he lost it. The owner of the team just completely lost his composure and went off on the reporter who asked the question, and then went off like unsolicited on a long diatribe about how they'll talk about what he wants to talk about here, and we're not going to mention that other stuff, which is all anybody wanted to talk about. So, and it cost the Panthers their coach in the middle of that. That's why it's even more remarkable that they've been playing as well as they have. I mean, maybe just everything fell into place, huh? This Bill Zito might be the executive of the century.
Oh, no. I mean, he did Dale Talon was a guy who set up championship-winning rosters, and he couldn't figure out getting the tough guy, the defense, and really the net minding. And Bill Zito, in like 2 years, has figured it all out.
That became a very tired conversation, didn't it, for like sports talk guys that were working here in the South Florida area like us, which it didn't come up that often because indifference is really what we're all about here in South Florida when it comes to our sports teams, unless they're doing very well.
That's great, yeah.
And, was Dale Talon the man for the job? I mean, it's right up there with your Chris Greer question about the Miami Dolphins.
At the beginning, maybe.
And everybody said the same thing. Well, he's a hard-nosed hockey guy. He really knows his stuff.
Yeah.
But, you're looking at year after year, the same thing, right? Bunch of schlepper results and a lot of moves that you looked at and said, and remember we had that one guy, Mike, he hates the local announcer, Steve Goldie Goldstein, for some reason, thinking he's a shill for the team, which you don't have to shill for them this year. They're good. But, and we know Steve, and we know him to be a very good guy, very, very knowledgeable. But, I mean, if you're the team announcer, you're going to sit there and constantly harp on the fact that they suck?
No.
That
makes zero sense.
Unfortunately, as unbiased and open-minded as you might be, you're a houseman, right? So, look, I've been guilty of this myself. I mean, so I understand it 100%, where, you're being hired by a boxing promoter. In many cases, when there were televised fights, the promoter was putting on the whole thing. And, so he's paying you, and he's going to be the guy you get your check from. And, maybe one of his guys is in the ring there and he's looking like garbage. But, if you keep harping on that, all of a sudden the director might yell in your ear, hey, ease up on the house fighter. Meanwhile, he's in your lap, and you're consoling him on the loss. Don't worry, your family still loves you, Joe. Blood splattered all over your shirt, right?
What an effort.
I gave it everything he had here. I tell you what, this guy went out on a shield. You won't see better fighters than the ones in the Don King stable. I'm going to tell you that right now. Whitey, what do you think? Yeah. Whitey chimes in with something of a similar sentiment. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that. I mean, you're probably not going to go on as a paid team announcer and constantly harp on everything negative. I mean, look what happened to our guy, Tommy Hutton, the most positive guy that you could possibly employ, and is enthusiastic about the game of baseball, loves the Marlins organization. He was part of it, like he was there in the beginning.
Yeah.
When they built Earth.
Yeah.
There was Tommy Hunt, man, batting 265 and getting ready to, come in there and hit a line drive. But and he wasn't even being negative about the the team, and they fired him, right?
Yeah, because he was.
Now they brought him back. They made amends, but it was not a positive viewpoint, and what he said was far from critical.
It wasn't. I don't think he even. I don't even remember what he said. Like, it wasn't that hard on them. They were a disaster at the time, and I don't even think he was always synonymous with the team. So I don't know. The whole thing was weird. But yes, that's their sort of job. And Mike the Goldie Hitter would rail against.
And he had good points he would make because when your team stinks or is underachieving or is deemed to be kind of a flop, those things are exponentially illustrated. That your front office is making a lot of bonehead.
Yeah. Well,
they let those guys go to the Golden Knights, right?
Yes,
in the expansion draft and a trade.
And they all excelled, like all of them.
Yeah. Marcia So and who was the other guy? Riley Smith. Yeah.
They went on to Stanley Cup fame.
Oh, no. Riley Smith is playing like he's Gordie Howe, man. He's unbelievable.
So it was like.
And they finally might have worked their way out of it. All right, we'll talk with Harvey about a lot of these things and many good things that are going on in the world of sport. Harvey Fialkov coming up, a good friend of the program here, a longtime sports writer for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. And he was covering the tennis matches in Delray Beach, which I don't know how much of a prelude they are to the Miami Open. Miami Open's a little bit down the road here. But it was very interesting what happened there. And he had an incident with an American player, Riley Opelka, who refuses to speak to the media. Can you imagine? I mean, how is this guy helping himself?
Especially if you're unknown.
I mean, he shouldn't be unknown. The guy is 6'11". He has like 140 mile an hour serve. His ground game, obviously, it's very much like watching John Isner, where you're thinking if this guy just keeps a few balls in play, I mean, he's never going to get his serve broken, right? All he has to do is win tiebreakers. Nice. And he stiffed Harvey at the press conference. And Harvey was like one of the, handful of people that were covering the tournament outside of the fact that it was actually being televised live on the tennis channel. So it was a good event. We had a chance to get up there, courtesy of Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, and we'll talk with Harvey about that and many other things happening in the world of sport. Coming up in a moment, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That is still on. And John Kajemi's going to join us on Friday's show, so it'll be a very busy Degenerate Friday there, Mike Lubitz. And, wow, I mean, he turned us on to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. His brother Dominic is the main guy there in terms of everything that comes out of the kitchen and a lot of organizational stuff as the general manager. Does a tremendous job. His wife is also. It's a real family affair there. And Jimmy's a big part of it because he creates just such a positive vibe. Larry Calvano, the owner of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, has done a marvelous job. Very, very unique setup there, right on the Bayside. And you jog down to mile marker 104 if you're on your way back from a Key West trip and you're thinking, it's a long way. Stop in at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill and put your feet up on a chair and chill out for a while. Great place to watch all kinds of sporting events. I would imagine it'll be incredible there in the sports bar for March Madness that comes up on March 17th. Canes right now destined to be a number 10 seed, supposedly, according to your man, the bracketologist guy, Lunardi.
Knowles shit the bed the last month, so at least the Canes might represent Florida.
injuries. Don't blame Leonard Hamilton. I saw that guy with the cast on his hand. He looked like one of their top players.
Like five guys, but
you know what? You can have these kind of discussions over like a nice chill cocktail,
Yes.
maybe a margarita. It was National Margarita Day yesterday. That would have been a good time to get down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great accommodations. Look online at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Check out the menu, too, because it's such a wide variety of all great stuff. Just everything that you have there is sensational. And, of course, as we said, you have live music on the weekend, so the vibe is just always incredibly uplifting and great scenery. The sunsets are incredible. You'll have a ball at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, coming back with Harvey Fialkov, and then the agent to the stars, Brett Tester, joins us here on the Defo Show on Jack Namer's fine organization, Eye on Channel. And that was interesting that we did this flip-flop, Louie. I'm having trouble getting used to it. Not that it's all that significant, but the slightest thing throws you off in this business. The slightest thing. The dog comes into the room here. Oh, what was I talking about? All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:16 on the East Coast. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
Hear me! I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket? Power has driven him mad.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
All right, we're here on Eye on Channel. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, the Defo Show on this Tuesday, and always a pleasure to welcome this gentleman to the program. And his name was up in lights, Mike Lubitz. You'll find this as quite a piece of recognition as at the Delray Tennis Center before they contested the finals of what turned out to be a very interesting tournament. They gave homage to all of the people who have covered the tournament, the event, for a long time. And I don't know if you're the last man standing there, Harvey Fialkov. I saw Charles Bricker's name up there and a lot of other Randall Mell, guys that haven't been around the journalistic scene here for a long, long time. But there you were, very prominently featured on the marquee at the Delray Tennis Center. So congratulations on that. Harvey, welcome to the show.
Good morning, fellas. Yeah, that was kind of cool. We're just sitting in the stands, covering the final, and then they announced our names, put it on the scoreboard. As the reporters and photographers who have been there the longest, just covering the tournament for decades. Randall Mell never covered tennis; he wasn't up there. But Bricker hasn't done it in about 15 years, and even then, he used to send me to cover this.
Is Bricker still alive? I want to say yes to that. Bricker.
I don't. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody.
He left for parts unknown. Yeah.
He wasn't a very sociable fellow. Although,
no.
I was kind of his caddy, like that. I'd stay late at the Miami Open, and he'd go home, or he got there really early. And,
Strange cat is what he comes under the heading of. Strange cat.
Unbelievable. But
Yeah.
what time? Years after he was kind of pushed out the door, he was a little older than us. And I see him at the Sunrise Tournament. Remember, they had that little BMW Sunrise Tournament between Indian Wells and the Miami Open. The guys who lost early at Indian Wells would show up there. Pretty good draw occasionally. So Soderling there and Burdick. But anyhow, so I see Bricken there. I hadn't seen him in like 4 or 5 years. So I go to sit next to him. We got along. I had to sit along with him, so I wanted to cover tennis with him. And I go to sit next to him. Hardly even talk to me. I just say, how you doing? And on the changeover, he literally got up and moved 2 aisles over.
Wow.
And we never had a problem. I swear to God. He really hated the women reporters. He was a chauvinist. And the women reporters, the word is when he finally got pushed out the door from the Sentinel, all the women reporters in the area, Sandra Harwood and Michelle Kaufman, etc., they all called each other and did a conference call and like drank a toast of champagne to his accident. I mean,
he struck me as being a curmudgeon like sourpuss. There's no question when I used to see him around on the Dolphin beat. But anyway, that being said, now speaking of sourpusses, you don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that, Michael. One of my favorite lines out of the Godfather movies, from Fredo, of course, who eventually got whacked for taking that position. But nonetheless, I mean, Riley Opelka is an American with, I would have to think, some promise. I guess, has he been around for a while? He's 6'11". He looks like Goran Ivanisevic. I mean, he serves the ball at $140, which is, more than blazing, and he has a decent enough game to make you think he might do something. He's in the tournament. I guess he made it to the final, but he doesn't speak to Harvey after the semifinal win. What's the deal on that?
Wow.
Well,
stiffed you.
Curmudgeon. By the way, let me wrap it up on Bricky. He was one of the great tennis writers in the area, and he was amazing as far as getting scoops. He was a bulldog. So and he understood tennis, unlike a lot of these tennis writers that don't play the game. He was a pretty good player. I mean, I was better. But he's the hook worse than Ira Winderman. But anyway, that's another story. Back to Opelka. Opelka, dude, he's like, John is the second. I mean, he's really 7 foot. He doesn't like to say 7 foot. He doesn't want to be determined like he's some kind of basketball alien.
A freak, yeah.
The guy, he serves out of a tree. He's arguably one of the greatest servers of all time already. I mean, with Isner, Ivo Karlovic, Sampras was up there. But this guy, like you said, is $140. His second serve is about 120 and bounces over anyone's head. And
he looks like Ivanisevic, back in the day, serving.
Oh, yeah. Goran was a great one. That's one reason they slowed the course, because the points are over from the serve, and that was it. And this guy doesn't even know how to volley, but he has improved his ground strokes. I give him credit. His two-hand backhand across court is wonderful. He has a nice slice, and he has a big forehand like Isner, but he moves better than Isner, and he has better overall backcourt game than Isner. And Isner made the top 10 one year. He won the Miami Open, if you recall, a few years ago. That's a Masters tournament, one step below the Slam. This guy, he won. He got to the Masters final last year somewhere, and this year he's already won. He won last week in Dallas, and here he was in the finals of Del Rey. These are AP 250s deep, and Lubie, that they win 250 points if they win. The lesser play, the top 10 doesn't show up. It's usually like 20 to rank 100. And but the guy's a curmudgeon, just like you talked about Bricker. He's an angry young man. Last year he ripped all of tennis media because he didn't like us asking about why the Americans don't win slams anymore since Roddick in 2003. He hates that question. And the other one he didn't like was the bathroom break question. He goes, I'm 6'11". It takes me like 10 minutes to change my clothes in the bathroom. I got a lot of body to take the clothes off.
Major appendage issues there, yes.
Right. He was upset his press was stressing that. And so he just ripped all of tennis media. This kid hasn't earned his stripes yet to be that critical. So anyhow, Saturday he wins the semifinal. It's a 3-hour match over Millman, a lovely Australian player.
Where'd he come from, man? I know I've seen him before, but I'm looking at this guy and saying, who the hell is he?
Beautiful stroke. The highest he ever got was 33 in the world. He slipped to 91. awesome, beautiful ground strokes, lovely player. No weapon, Deke. You got to have a weapon in tennis, man. You got to have the big forehand, the big serve, something. He doesn't have a weapon, but it was a great match. It was a 3-hour match. Obviously, it's always tiebreakers with Isner and guys like Opelka. Opelka usually wins them. Anyhow, Opelka pulls it out. It's 11 o'clock at night. I am the only newspaper reporter there all week. I mean, Cindy Schmerl, who freelances for the New York Times, made
Cindy Schmerl? Wow.
Cindy Schmerl.
Yeah,
That's
Schmerlster was on the scene.
Yeah. She's been around a while. Knows nothing about tennis, but a nice woman.
I don't know that anybody knows who Cindy Schmerl is either, which is a great reference here on the show.
Yeah, freelancers for the time. Anyhow, I'm the only one there. I'm waiting in. They call that mix zone. As soon as they get up the court, you get them. Millman, who lost a heartbreaker, chats with me for about 5 minutes while Isner's still on the court, hitting balls into the stands, doing a little on court.
You mean Opelka?
Yeah, announcer. Right, Opelka. I'm sorry, Opelka. Yes. Anyhow, I'm waiting for him. Luckily, I wasn't on deadline because at this point I was only writing for online for the Palm Beach Post. But still, the point is he has to show up, and he goes right behind me. He does a selfie with a fan, and he says he has to go ride the bike. Okay.
Get out of here, man. He was just on the court for 3 fucking hours. Come on, Harvey. Right?
Whatever. Talk to me for 2 minutes in the mix zone, right outside the court.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he couldn't, spare you a couple of minutes while, he rested up before getting on the bike. Get out of here.
Right, to give me some of his gems. And this guy hasn't earned his stripes. He's won a couple of minor tournaments.
You sound bitter, like this experience embittered you a little bit about Riley Opelka, one of the rising Americans.
Win something before you can criticize the world. But actually, Sunday.
Oh, see, there's a shot. I mean, there's a shot. That's the reason he doesn't talk to you, Harvey. He senses this hostility.
Or after? Like, did these hostility come before or now?
Is it just since that stiff job at the interview that you've taken a position against Riley Opelka?
Listen, I got to give him credit. He did lose on Sunday, 2 tiebreakers. He was exhausted from 2 weeks in a row, making it to the finals, winning last week before in Dallas. And he did. After Cameron Norrie, the British guy, came over and spoke to us. I mean, he was on the court getting photos. Opelka spoke to us for a long time, and he was very polite. But then at the end, he just crushed the ATP CEO, Godenzi, and his assistant, the chairman. And he said that they've taken salary cuts for the players, and yet they sit home and haven't taken any salary cuts. During the pandemic, they dropped some of the money to the different rounds that the guys make it to because, they lost money during the pandemic with no fans allowed for 2 years. So he said they need to get out. They're mediocre at best. They're terrible, doing a terrible job. So here's a 24-year-old guy, not even on the ATP board of players, and he just basically called for the resignation of the ATP CEO and chairman. So again, the guy's just he likes to hear himself talk. He's big on social media. But listen, he's 18 in the world. I don't think he'll win any Grand Slams because their big bodies just can't take it. They can't bend down low enough for 5 hours. And also, his return to serve is awful like Isner. They don't have the fast twitch muscle to return serve. But other than that, he's a shot. I think he's going to have a better career than Isner, but of course, he'll be a multimillionaire. But I don't think he'll ever win a major. The best American right now to make a major, I think this kid Seb Korda, son of Peter Korda, who won the Australian Open many years ago. His sister's a golf legends right now, number 1 in the world. So it's a great family. I think he has a chance to be up there. And also this kid, Jensen Brooksby, is an exciting young player. So I don't think the Taylor Fritzes of the world have the weapons either. But wait, a quick story. Last night I'm watching out in Acapulco. It's a big tournament, the 500. And Stefan Korda from Pembroke Pines, who made the quarters last week, is having a resurgence in his career. He's only 24 years old. He's ranked about 150. Last night he's playing Dimitrov in the first round, and he wins the first set tiebreaker. Second set, he breaks and goes up 5-3, celebrates with the crowd, and collapses on the court. Major. They're bringing out a wheelchair for the guy. The match is over. He gets up, and after 10 minutes, he starts serving like basically 10-mile-an-hour serves. Dimitrov wins the next 4 games to win 7-5. Thinking the match is over. He's still limping in pain. Comes back, beats him in the third set, 6-3. They're bringing out a wheelchair for the guy, and he beats Dimitrov in a 3-hour and 20-minute match, the longest match ever in Acapulco. And it was just amazing. The kid, both legs locked up. I don't know if you guys have ever had cramps. I have really bad.
Yeah, I used to suffer desperately from them, many years ago.
Right?
Yeah, a schwitzing machine here. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl while they were attending to him in a wheelchair before the game. When the Denver Broncos beat Carolina that year, that Lubie was celebrating in the face of the Duke, the celebrated and distinguished gentleman that he is. Not Lubie, but the Duke, and he's making fun of him. Duke's dropping 10 dimes, and this guy's winning $10. It was great. Isner, by the way, a very gracious interview subject, and a guy that you couldn't help but root for. So it's unfortunate that this guy has received, this level. I don't know if you would call it of negativity, but that he's kind of, as you're implying, has brought some of this on himself. All right. Are you a believer, Harvey Fialkov? We have Mike Mayo, one of your contemporaries for a long time with the Sun Sentinel. And Mayo's a bitter and cynical guy when it comes to sports. I don't know if he's just angry that he doesn't have the interest that he had anymore, because you and I and Lubie, we obviously still enjoy it immensely, or we couldn't have this kind of enthusiasm to get up and talk about it every day. But the Florida Panthers, I haven't seen. I mean, I won't say that I have a great foundation of knowledge about the rest of what's going on in the National Hockey League. I do follow it, at least with stories and whatever highlights I see, and occasional periods of games that I'll watch. But the Panthers look like a really good team in any sport to me, the way they're playing. And Mayo, keeps giving me this baloney that, when they win a playoff round, I'll become convinced. I don't know. I mean, is it possible that they could go in as a number 1 seed in the conference and lose to an 8 seed? I think they finally get past that long time hurdle that has plagued them.
Yeah, I'll forgive you. One final thing on Kozlov. He lost in qualifiers, so he goes wave running, and he gets stranded out there. He runs out of gas. He's treading water for 20 minutes, waiting to be rescued. That's one reason. He was dehydrated from that all day. And he got in the tournament the last minute as a lucky loser because Cressy pulled out. He didn't even know he was going to play Dimitrov that night until the last minute. So that's one other reason why the guy is an amazing story. The guy almost died in a wave running accident in the afternoon. Okay, let me move on.
He went from the brink of death
and went and played
to being in a wheelchair and then beating. What does that say about Dimitrov? What happened to him? Did Sharapova take? You talk about women weakening legs.
Remember, he was a big.
Yegor Dimitrov looked like he was a coming star, and then he was dating Maria there for a while, and that was it.
Right.
He vanished from public eye, from the public eye.
Right. He got to number 3 in the world. They used to call him Baby Federer, and he didn't like the comparisons. And he's working his way back. He's also had a couple of tough years. He's still young enough to make a beautiful game, but he had like 20 double faults last night. Okay, Panthers. By the way, last year was a tough year. They played great last year, but it was a weird thing with COVID. They had to play, Tampa or Carolina in their division, and they were the 3 best teams in hockey, basically. So, of course, they can't beat the Lightning, who won 2 cups in a row. So they lost in a very tough 6-game series to Tampa. Well, once again, this year they are number 1 in the Eastern Conference, your Florida Panthers. They're number 2 in all of hockey. They shy a point to the Colorado Avalanche in the other division. They have some great players in that team, McKinnon. But still, they won't play Tampa in the first round. Tampa's still like 2nd in the Eastern Conference, and they're going to be a tough out once again. They're going for 3 cups in a row, a true dynasty. But as you said, and Mike Mayo, I agree with them, they have to win one freaking playoff series. It's the 1996. The worst drought than the Dolphins getting into the Super Bowl almost. No, so they go back to the 80s. But still, you got to win a playoff series. But, Steve, they are the most exciting team in hockey. 4 balanced lines. Aaron Ekblad's having a Norris Trophy year with 37 points. He's got like a plus 25, which is unbelievable for a defenseman. Jonathan Huberdeau is 2nd in the whole league in points scored because he also leads the league in assists. He's one of
he
the
looks
best.
like Mike Bossy, man. I mean, he looks
he's like all around. Man. He's like amazing.
Well, he's not a shooter like Bossy. He's not a sniper. That's more Barkov, other guys. But he's the greatest passer I've seen since Pistol Pete Maravich. If I could cross sports, the guy's a magician with the puck. So Barkov's a superstar. The GM, has brought in guys from everywhere. The greatest. I mean, this guy Marchman's been unbelievable. Bennett, Reinhardt, Duclair was having an average career. He's up there in points, and he's amazing on breakaways. It's a balanced team. They're so exciting to watch. As you alluded to earlier, they came back from that a month-long All-Star break, is whatever, 2 weeks. I thought they were going to lose momentum. They played Carolina. They're down a goal, pull the goalie. Carolina misses an empty net by like 6 inches. Just missed the net. And then they come back and score and tie it in the last 50 seconds. And in the first 10 seconds, like of overtime, Ekblad gets a pass from Huberdeau, puts it between his legs, and scores an amazing breakaway goal. So right now, they are the most exciting franchise in South Florida. I mean, with apologies to the Miami Heat, who is still a very exciting team to watch. I just wish Tyler Hero would stop getting hurt because I love watching that kid. But the Panthers right now, this is the year, Dave. They're going to break the curse, the playoff curse, and they're going to go deep into the playoffs. I mean, it would be a shock if they got bounced. They just don't want to meet Tampa Bay Lightning. They're going to have to meet them, I guess, to get to the Stanley Cup. And I'm sure that'll be an amazing conference final. You mentioned the Islanders before, Deep. I checked the stats. They got to the conference semis last year, the conference finals the year before, both times losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, they had a pretty good run there with Trotz for sure. I love the enthusiasm. I want to end it on that note. Harvey Fialkov, fantastic. I mean, you were everywhere today.
Yes.
Including, I mean, everywhere from Rio de Janeiro to Sunrise, Florida. Just absolutely fantastic. Love the enthusiasm. Congratulations on the recognition from the Delray Tennis Center. I was there. I caught the better part of the Manarino match against Brandon Nakashima.
Oh.
And, I have to say, it was a great way. I mean, I'm not a big fan necessarily of going to like so-called minor league events, but it's being a tennis guy and enjoying the game the way I do, and attempting to play it at the feeble level that I do. Still, I mean, to watch those guys from that close up at that high level, I kind of wish I had stayed for the night match that night because the ball was being smacked around with a little more velocity, which you like to see also. But it was great and a very nicely run tournament and event. So anybody in the future, if you're looking, this is a great way to experience it. And, it was a lot more fun to catch a match on that court than it is even going to the new configuration of the Miami Open, I have to say, because those side courts don't really appeal to me so much.
Steve, I forgot to say, during the Manarino-Opelka match, Manarino, like you say, doesn't have a big anything, but he's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's interesting. He doesn't look like he's doing much. Yeah.
No, but he's good. But anyhow, during that match, the lights from the car on the court, the BMW, the sponsor, is in the way of guys returning serve. I mean, Kozlov almost took it out with a racket. He couldn't return one of Tommy Paul's serves. It was going into the front seat of the car. But anyway,
that was weird. They had that car a little close to the court there. They did not. I mean, it was a bit intrusive into the match. And then I think Opelka was complaining in the semifinal. They had like Sly and the Family Stone playing, at one of the tents outside the arena.
That's what I was going to get to. The headlight went on in the car, and he complained about that, and then his serve got broken, which forced another set. And then he's complaining about the music on the outside grounds, and he said he's quitting after that second set. I'm not playing.
Yes.
But that was the quarterfinal, and he said he was just losing his mind. He lives in Delray Beach. He moved there like 4 years ago. He won this tournament in 2020. 2021, he's supposed to play again, and he quit on the first day because they didn't have one of the machines for his knee or something.
Yeah.
So the guy's a curmudgeon. By the way, there was a roommate who was going out with Venus Williams, who's like 17 years his senior. She showed up to every one of his matches.
Nice.
She lives nearby in Palm Beach Gardens. But the word is, he told us afterwards, I asked him if it was a romantic interest. He gave me a dirty look and said, no, he's my greatest friend. She's a mentor. She's an advisor. And Serena and her actually showed up to watch the Dimitrov match. Also, I wanted to ask him if they're retired. Neither one has played in like 6 to 8 months. But I didn't get that scoop because I couldn't track him down.
Strong on your part, man, considering the guy already hated you from the night before after the stiff job, and then you go ahead and ask him if he's tagging Venus Williams. Strong stuff from a freelancer there for the Palm Beach Post. I mean, you probably could have had them lose their license to publish. All right, thanks, Harvey. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for being with us.
Last question of the interview. All right, say goodnight, Gracie. See you.
All right, very good. Harvey Fialkov. He is passionate about that tennis, and tennis isn't often discussed here. But Harvey is right there with Brad Gilbert in terms of being able to illustrate what the hell is going on out there on a tennis court, and he can play. Has a game that you're not expecting to be as good as it is. He just master placement he has on his shots. He doesn't necessarily overpower you, and then. Of course, when he's going against another one of his contemporaries in the journalism field there from the Sun Sentinel, Aaron Winderman, you would just as soon have Stevie Wonder making the line calls. Looked out to me, Steve. I don't want to get into that. All right. Brett Tester, the agent of the stars. I wonder if he had any influence on that whole thing with the combine. Where the players won out. The players, they told the league to stick it, and the league stuck it.
Good for them. Good for them.
Back with Brett in just a minute here on Ion Channel on the Defo Show in a moment. Now that.
Time.
8:41.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Well, once again, everybody, great to be with you here on the Defo Show on Ion Channel. Google the Defo Show. You can also catch us on 5 Reasons Sports Network, Scoop Skolnick's fine organization, and the Believe Podcast Network, where, as we said, it would be worth going back into the archive there and downloading our interview yesterday with Megan Imbert, the former director, and she was the production manager for the then Washington Redskins video department, and she came right out and said Dan Snyder personally ordered these voyeurism tapes of naked cheerleaders and then had them set by the video department without her knowledge,
in-house,
going through some underling in-house to his favorite birthday song. And just boldly made that assertion right here on our Believe podcast. We were trying to bring that interview to you earlier. Always something with the National Football League, and that's why we always enjoy bringing the program here. And one of our favorites, longtime friend of ours here on the show, and always bringing us a lot of insight into the National Football League's inner workings. The agent to the stars, Brett Tester, brought to you by Will & Trust Attorney and Estate Planning Law Firm, the estate planning law firm of one Michael D. Wild. Brett, how are you, my friend?
I couldn't be better, D. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the program. It was interesting. I don't know if you get a chance, you might want to give this a listen. Because it always seems to be something. And we were implying yesterday that the happiest man to be sued by Brian Flores in the NFL among the owners was Dan Snyder, because it took the spotlight away from what was again transpiring, even though you thought this, whole, investigation had resulted in whatever, conclusion they came to. The team got fined, $10 million, 5 of which went to charity. But it seemed like, there was enough there to believe that something funky was going on inside the Washington organization. And then women are screaming in front of Congress that there's all this other sexual abuse involving Snyder himself. It did come up, the story surfaced during the Super Bowl, that maybe the owners were getting tired of this. I don't know what your thoughts are about what's going on with the Washington organization, now the Commanders. But do you believe that eventually Dan Snyder might be forced to sell that team, which, it takes a lot to bring that about?
Well, in time, obviously, all of the facts will come out, or, whatever evidence there is, and the league will act accordingly. Regardless what is found or not found, the whole thing has been a very embarrassing distraction to the league, and really it's picked up its steam most throughout the postseason, where the league clearly wants everybody's attention focused on what's happening on the field, not what's happening with some organization that controversy has tended to engulf over the last several years. So there's no question that there has been a lot of smoke, and ultimately, I think in time we'll find out if there's really any fire.
Talking with the one and only Brett Tessler. Follow him on Twitter at Tessler Sports, also Facebook, Brett Tessler. Let me ask you, and I get it, and my wife will tell me this sometimes, and I'm very open-minded, but I am a white guy. So I do miss some things. You are, in essence, a white guy. So you're around the execs, you're around the owners, and you talked last week, and you said you've talked with us the last couple of weeks. You're not sure if there's overt racism going on, but again, people hire who they're comfortable with, and that's what sort of led to a quote unquote systemic racism issue. Well, we're hearing more and more about sort of a macho / anti-female kind of a thing where it's still quote unquote a boys club. And Megan was very honest with us about it. Let me ask you, you're around these owners, you're around the execs. Do you feel sort of this quote unquote toxic culture? And she said it's not just the Redskins or Commanders or whatever they're called. It's not just the Cowboys. She said it's across the NFL. Like she said, she went right after the NFL and said they're very complicit in all of this, and they don't fight any of it. They just let it happen. You're with these parties. You're in a lot of these events. Like, have you sort of felt sort of an aura of like 1960s when you're hanging out, dealing with some of the older NFL guard?
Yeah, I mean, you cut out quite a bit there with what you were saying, Lubie. But what I think you were asking, I think I got enough of it to know what you're asking. From my experiences, no, I wouldn't say I really, experienced anything like that. Obviously, it's a male sport, and throughout the years, it's a sport that's been owned by all male owners, coached by all male coaches, played by all male athletes. Now, obviously, as time's gone on, especially over the last 2-3 years, you've seen some teams like the Buccaneers, the 49ers, you see them getting some women on their staffs. And so, it's possible that it could start heading more in that direction. Obviously, for any change to happen, it has to start somewhere. So assuming that it's possible that more females could end up, in higher ranking positions, I really would honestly say that in being at the combine, around all the teams, hanging out with a lot of front office people that I know, and, having dinner, drinking, whatever, I don't sense anything really misogynistic or chauvinistic, if you will. It's just, this is the way it's been for a very, very long time. And for change to happen, it's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. Well, all of a sudden, tomorrow, every coach in the league is a female, or every coach is black, or every coach is Jewish, or whatever. It takes time for things to start to turn. And so you're seeing it going in that direction. I really wouldn't say the reason why it's taken this long as it relates to women isn't necessarily anything against women. I just think you haven't really had women coaching football for very long. Obviously, in the last decade, there's been women's professional football leagues. And because of that, now women are playing the sport and coaching it. And so it's only natural now that in time, they would possibly be knowledgeable enough and want to try to coach the game at the highest level.
Brett Tesser, the agent of the stars, with us here on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, all over the world, video streaming, audio streaming, through the expertise of Jack Namer and On Channel and all of his good people. All right, I thought of you. I sat down, to get ready to do the show the other day, and I see a headline in my New York Post, and it says, "Agents Unite to force issue and may, cause turmoil at Combine." And I thought, Brett Tesser, there he goes again, man. This dissident, but it worked. I mean, what was there? And I guess the COVID restrictions and strict adherence to some kind of bubble circumstance. So it was something that supposedly the agents of these players were opposed to. And were you instrumental in any of this?
I was not instrumental, but I thought our union did a good job making their position very clear, that they believe that these guys have rights. And even though they're not formally a part of the union until they enter the league and end up under contract with an NFL team, they're in many cases future union members. And so I think the reality is they were within their rights to stand up for the way they think things should fairly be done. And look, I mean, there's a lot riding on how guys perform at the Combine. And if guys are there and they're not allowed to have any contact with their agents, with their trainers, people who they've been working with to prepare for this, people who've been preparing them nutritionally, keeping them on a very tight schedule to make sure their weight is exactly where it needs to be, keeping them sharp to make sure that their 40 times and their bench reps and their jumps and all the other things that these guys are evaluated on are where they need to be. It's really unfair for the league to put the players in that position. And to people out there who say, well, it's a job interview, hey, when I have to interview for a job, I don't get to demand what terms I want it to be under. Yeah, but when the people who are saying that are applying for a job, millions of people aren't watching them apply for that job.
Yeah.
And it's not bringing the corporation that they're applying to millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars by, again, making it a huge, spectacle like the Combine is. So basically, the players are the stars of this show. And as has been the case throughout their entire college careers, again, they're making other people a lot of money while making nothing themselves, while assuming a physical risk. And, for every guy that does get drafted in the first round and goes on and signs a, $20 million deal, what about the guys that go to the Combine that maybe get hurt, maybe hurt their draft stock, maybe don't get drafted, maybe don't get signed, maybe don't make it? And so I think it was very well within reason for the association to step up and make their status, their standing clear. And I think it was smart for the agents and the players to stand up as well. And obviously it proves that there is strength in numbers, and that's how you resist such a powerful organization like the NFL and their Combine.
Tesla and the Chicago 7, man. I mean, hold them in the highest of regard for their ability to bring about social change and equality. All right. Well, we know this, though. I mean, it couldn't have been an issue about just being able to leave the hotel in a bubble, because there's nothing to do in Indianapolis except once you've had that shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's.
What else?
What else is there?
It's funny. I knew you were going to mention that. You always talk about it.
I had to bring it up, man, because I can't believe this place is known for a shrimp cocktail. I mean, what's a fucking shrimp cocktail?
And it's so funny, Deef, that I swear to God, right now on my desk as we're speaking, I'm looking at a gift card for $100 to St. Elmo's that the Colts sent me for Christmas.
Give it to Jim Gray when you go in the door.
Every year as an agent, you look forward to the Christmas gift. So each gift is usually something that pertains to the local area. So the Seahawks will send you a box of smoked salmon. Different teams will send you different things that are sort of relating to their area. So with the Colts, every year you're getting that St. Elmo's gift card, and it's something I always look forward to using.
All right, Brian Flores. I love the move there by Mike Tomlin because I believe he probably salvaged Brian Flores' possibilities of ever coaching again in the NFL. Obviously, he is coaching again, but maybe even moving up the line. Is that a position that is familiar to any coaching staffs, the vice assistant to the consultant to the linebacking core? Or did they just make a position for him? I mean, what was your thought about that? Because I think getting Flores right back into the league like that probably did more for him than this lawsuit will in the long run.
Well, it's a good look for the league that despite the lawsuit that he found employment. But the reality is, Deef, and I'm a very strong believer, that with Flores' age, with him being a young guy who clearly can learn and improve as a coach, I think Flores' best coaching days could potentially be ahead of him. And, I think during his time down here in Miami, everybody can say that he did some positive things, and you could see some signs that maybe, again, this guy could become a great head coach for years to come in the league. But I also very, very strongly believe that had he not filed a lawsuit, he would be a head coach today. But I also believe that had he been a little bit easier to work with and somebody who people were able to, get along better with, and somebody who players could have more respect for, I think he'd still be the head coach of the Dolphins today. So I think, sometimes if you make your bed in the snow, you lie in it. And I feel like he definitely could have, been the head coach of the Texans or the Giants. But clearly with everything going on with him right now, if you were the owner of a team, even if you're not really specifically retaliating, let's just say that it's very radioactive and, very polarizing figure. And if a team is making a head coaching change, it's obviously because they've gone through their own issues and their own struggles. And so I think, maybe hiring a guy like him as a head coach at this time would sort of be like pouring gasoline on the fire. So I feel like it shows that these teams want to win. And I believe that for the Steelers, if you can get a coach of Flores' ability as an assistant, I think, it can only help your team. And it's a position that is low enough to where it keeps him out of the media, unlike coordinators and head coaches that obviously have to talk to the media, have to answer a lot of questions. A coach in that position isn't necessarily being put on the podium in front of the media. And so it helps minimize distraction and controversy. And, I just hope in the end that it ends up being good for all people involved.
As we wrap up here with Brett Tessler, I just want to ask you, because we were talking about coaching hires, throwing the Dolphins. The Dolphins, and I don't recall them really doing this in my lifetime. Mike McDaniel's gone and brought some of the greats back. Sam Madison to coach defensive back, since he did a great job with the Chiefs. Patrick Surtain, who's done a really good job with the American Heritage down here, is going to be an assistant under Sam Madison with the defensive backs. And Wes Welker, who's done a really good job with the Niners, is going to coach a former Dolphin great with the wide receivers here. As you are around the league, you deal with guys. What are some of these moves? Like, what do they do for players? Because to me, as a Dolphin fan, I'm excited to see some of the greats back here. How do players receive former player greats from an organization? Like, how does that work? What are your thoughts on those moves?
It's funny. As soon as I saw those hires, I immediately reached out to Trent Gamble and asked him if he wanted to start coaching special teams.
Which you should, yeah.
He's great.
Did we lose Brett there?
Yes.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, very good.
I'm here. And so, again, as far as it relates to teams hiring former players, guys who are very highly respected, I think it depends on the personality of those guys. The problem with some great former players like Mike Singletary's, or, even if you want to look at basketball, people like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, the reason why a lot of times those guys don't make good coaches is because their success just came from such just amazing God-given talent. Whereas in the case of guys like Madison and Surtain, these are guys who were not the biggest, they were not the fastest. Their success came from great technique, great physicality. And on top of that, if you know these guys personally, and I've had the opportunity to meet them at different times throughout the years, they're both incredibly nice guys. And so they don't have huge egos. They're not going to be talking to the younger players like, hey, kid, do you know who I am? That's not the nature of these guys. These are guys that I think people personally are really going to take a liking to. And I feel like professionally, these guys have just an incredible wealth of knowledge to offer. And I think it's really great for the fans. I think it's nice to have a head coach who embraces the days of success in this organization, and gives the fans some names that they can be excited about and some faces they could be excited to see on the sideline, as opposed to being intimidated by that or, basically taking an approach where it's you against the fans and you against the city and you against everybody, like maybe some people had been here. So I think it's very cool that McDaniels was willing to offer these guys these positions. And I see no reason to believe why it couldn't be very successful for the organization.
Seems like a good quick move to make on the part of McDaniel. At least it has a very positive feel to it. Now, one great hire that you recommended to me, and I can't be more grateful to you, Brett Tesser. I mean, this was one of the great calls of all time, was when I got Michael D. Wild involved with my mom and her living trust, and it was a lifesaver, literally, in her passing, that this man was at the controls and had set everything up. Michael D. Wild, when it comes to wills and trusts, any kind of estate planning, I mean, definitely first pick overall in anybody's draft, mock or even the real thing.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about what a great hire it is. And it's something that I got a chance to experience firsthand. Many of my clients have now had the opportunity to work with him, as has Defo and many other people out there listening. You reach out to Michael Wild at southfloridawills.com. Simply the best estate planning attorney down here in South Florida. And with him, there's no controversy. With him, you're getting somebody who has experience. He's been doing it for a while. He's done thousands and thousands of people's estate plans down here in South Florida. But he's still a guy who is young enough where he brings a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. He really genuinely cares about the work he does. And so if anybody out there listening has yet to get their estate plans in order, reach out to Michael Wild at southfloridawills.com. You're going to get this taken care of quickly, affordably, painlessly, and it's going to give you and your family such a peace of mind. Reach out to him, southfloridawills.com.
I mean, just contested like a brilliant fighter, Brett Tesser. We hit you right away with a couple of haymakers, racism, misogynism, and you handle those with your usual style and aplomb, and then right into some great detail about what's going on around the league. Always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the week, and thanks so much for being with us here on the Defo Show.
All right, guys. Talk to you next week.
All right,
thanks a lot, man. So he's got $100. Does that get him a shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's in Indianapolis?
I don't know. I guess he was excited about the $100 gift card, so maybe it does something for him.
Now that we know he's alive, not Brett Tesser, but Charlie Casserly. I'm hoping Brett will distinguish the program by just sitting behind Charlie Casserly, or maybe in front of him so we can get Casserly in the background and we can resurrect the thing where he's up on the link there on the screen while he's at the Combine. That would be kind of cool. Live from the Combine. Very exciting stuff. All right. A pleasure being with you all morning long. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show. We'll do it again tomorrow. We go old school with Tony Soprano. Tomorrow we'll have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge with the Polyman vowing to make his return to the program. Dave will be with us, Dave Gurgles Gurgly, and we'll have some fun on Thursday's edition of the show as we'll crown a champion here on Ion Channel, which is quite a distinction, as you know. And then our Friday Degenerate Friday will also feature John Kajemi with, some pertinent talk about what's going on in the National Football League. And also, I want to get his he's also our golf commentator, right?
Yes,
it's like the old days where your guy had the NFL beat all year long, but he also went out and covered the Honda Classic.
Well, Eddie O used to be our hockey guy / horse racing guy.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the fact that he's very knowledgeable in this, but, and I don't know what level of research he's done about this Greg Norman thing, but it looks like that's fallen apart, right? The Saudis were going to pump a bunch of money They're basically going to launder a bunch of oil money through sports. I don't know what they were doing. Michigan stuff, but they were going to try and hire all of the top PGA players away and have them sign with them for a new golf league.
Oh, there you go.
And apparently that took its final dump, or what seemed to be, a kiss of death with the latest people who have declared, like Rory McIlroy, that ain't going nowhere, man. Supposedly offered Bryson DeChambeau, which he denies, $120 million to sign with them.
Jesus.
Go with the Saudis. Unlimited cash. That may be another avenue we have to pursue here. Maybe
Dubai looks cool.
doing a couple of shows from Dubai there. Yeah.
Dubai.
Is that a man-made lake?
I don't care.
We'll see you next time. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Tony Segreto goes old school with us, and that's always a blast. And we had a lot of fun being with you today. Thanks so much for tuning in here to Ion Channel. Google The Defo Show. Catch that Megan Imbert thing on the Believe podcast. That's BLEAV podcast. And you can also find a show later on. Lubie will be uploading this edition of the program on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, which is receiving some prominent steam here.
Yes.
So everybody's happy about that. So thanks so much, everybody, for making the show a success. We had a blast being with you. We'll see you next time as we leave you on that. It's 9:05 here on the East Coast.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.